Welcome to the Sports Phenom Show, where I'm going to give you 3 best bets for Week 3 in MLS action. Last week, I did it again, folks, sweeping the board 3-0 with winners on the New York Red Bulls, who shut out Nashville 2-0. Orlando, who destroyed Toronto FC 4-2. And finally, Inter Miami, who beat up on the Houston Dynamo 4-1 and beat them up without Lionel Messi on the field to top it all off. So congrats to everyone that tailed. I'm 3-1 now overall on my MLS picks here thus far on these YouTube recordings. Only loss coming back to Week 1 on Inter Miami. And if you remember in that game, we received a red card early, just 23 minutes in, and had a 1-0 lead up to that point in the game, full control, before having to settle for a 2-2 draw in that game. So we more than likely would be 4-0 if that didn't happen. Inter Miami having to play a man down for the rest of that game. So that's how good my plays have been early already here on the new MLS season. This all coming off, let's not forget what I did in the NFL season here for you. Unprecedented results that continue now into this MLS podcast, all here on YouTube. And I think it's fair to say, the place to be, and the only source you will ever need for your sports betting needs. Now, without further ado, let's get to this week's 3 best bets. First game is going to be on the matchup between FC Cincinnati and the Toronto FC. FC Cincinnati, who's coming off a disappointing loss to Philadelphia last week. A 4-1 defeat at the hands of the Philadelphia Union. Union already off to a 2-0 surprising start to the season. So obviously a very disappointing loss, as I just mentioned, for FC Cincinnati in that one. Who would have thunk they would walk in to Philly and get trounced that badly? So I like Cincinnati to rebound here after that disappointing affair. They are a much better team at home. A very strong team at home at that. They won their first game there of the season against the New York Red Bulls, shutting them out in that matchup 1-0. And Toronto, on the other hand, is nowhere near the team the Red Bulls are. So expect a big rebound performance for FC Cincinnati here. As for Toronto FC, a team who more than lucky to get a late draw against an average DC United in their first contest. Then went on to get trounced by Orlando last week, which of course was one of my best bets. Orlando beating up on them 4-2. So the weaknesses are obvious for Toronto. All over the field. The defense has allowed 6 goals already in the first 2 games. So you can expect the ferocious FC Cincinnati attack to be salivating at this opportunity of rebounding here in this matchup at home, pouncing on a less than stellar TFC defense. Added to that, Toronto FC currently only has one attacking threat up front in former Juventus star Federico Bernardeschi. And really, that's it. Other than maybe former Napoli player Lorenzo Insigne, but he's yet to play. A lot of internal drama there going on with him. Is he going to be traded? Are they going to eventually decide to play him? When they have found him a place to be traded to, he hasn't accepted those trades due to a clause, no trade clause in his contract. So he has to feel comfortable with the deal and the team. So a lot of internal rumblings going on there, to say the least, with can't help a team out that already hasn't had a win in the first 2 games. Now, they did add Theo Corbuno from Granada in Spain, but he's yet to make any type of an impact. And they also acquired Norwegian international Ola Brynäsden, but he's only had limited action thus far due to his fitness conditioning since joining the team. So as long as FC Cincinnati can pay close attention to Bernadeschi, I don't see Toronto FC having any sort of attack that can threaten an FC Cincinnati team who not only is a very strong team at home, as mentioned, but rarely gives up goals at home to top it all off. So I really like FC Cincinnati here. My first of 3 official best bets. Next game, I'm looking at the Atlanta United and New York Red Bull matchup. Well, right off the bat, I like Atlanta in this game, who are coming off a disappointing 2-0 shutout loss in Charlotte. Similar to what I described in my FC Cincinnati pick. Atlanta also won their first game at home, beating CF Montreal 3-2. They're a much better team at home, and I expect them to have a rebound game here, a solid performance against a New York Red Bull team whose one loss this season came on the road in a place they haven't had much luck in past seasons, both on the road, where they are 1-9 in their last 10, by the way, and also especially in Atlanta, where they've haven't won now since back in 2022. So give me Atlanta here, where I expect a big game from players like Emmanuel Lath and Edwin Mosquera, both of which have already potted goals, a combined 3 between them. When you make the wager on this game, make sure to take Atlanta on the pick line. We got a favorable pick line there we can take advantage of and cover ourselves in case of a draw. I do think Atlanta should be able to pull this one out, but we'll take them on the pick to be safe. Atlanta, pick 'em! Next game, which will be my final of 3 MLS best bets. We'll be looking at the New York FC versus Orlando City matchup. New York City FC has yet to tally a win this season. They tied their first game in Miami. They were able to take advantage of an early red card for Miami, as I mentioned earlier. Ended up being able to pull out a 2-2 draw in that game. And then they went on to lose a very close affair in LA by a 1-0 final. So both games very close against 2 of the favorite teams to win it all. So even though they've only got 1 point out of the first 2 games, I think it's an overly impressive start for New York, especially on the road. And they'll be looking at an opponent here in Orlando who are 1-1 thus far. They lost their first game at home to Philadelphia 4-2. And then rebounded last week against Toronto FC. A less than stellar affair there in that one. So when you take a look at it, my best bet here is going to be on New York FC. They're the ones that have looked quite good in both of their first 2 games against top teams, as mentioned, on the road to top it all off. And now they return to the friendly confines of New York Stadium, Yankee Stadium, where we all know is a huge home field advantage, not because of necessarily just the home crowd, but also because of that small field. It's the smallest field in the league, transformed from a baseball field to this mini soccer field, and opposing teams don't always have the quick adaptations needed to play the way you need to in such confines. Especially a team like Orlando that likes to play a wide, fast, spread out game, especially on the wings. So this is clearly an advantage to New York City here in this game. Orlando also hasn't impressed me whatsoever. They lost that first game at home big to Philadelphia, who was a team that wasn't expected to really even do too much here this season, allowing 4 goals against them. Then, yeah, they were able to beat Toronto FC in the second game, but again, they allowed in a couple goals. So they have a suspect defense, to say the least, already allowing in 6 goals. And now with the adaptation they're going to have to come up with to play in this small field, especially with all the new players that Orlando has this year, I'm not sure they're going to be able to throw anything at New York City here that's going to be enough to pull out a win. And that's why we're going to take New York City here in this game on the pick line. I don't see any worse than a draw in this game, a victory, a better than 50% chance. So we'll cover ourselves with that pick'em line. I see New York having plenty of opportunity to score on this suspect defense, the small field advantage, the home crowd advantage. Everything points towards New York City FC getting their first win of the season. New York City FC on the pick line, officially your third and final best bet. Okay, folks, so that'll wrap things up here for MLS action in week 3. A quick recap of your best bets. FC Cincinnati, Atlanta on the pick line, and finally, New York City FC. Why don't we sweep the board once again, folks? Wouldn't that be nice? I am the Phenom. Let's get this money.